How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about Lucid and Chargepoint. Both of these stocks saw a lot of selling pressure on the Friday, so many people are asking me, Dre, what do you see the levels going into next week? What do you see on the charts? So I'm going to be going over that, and also we're going to be taking a look at the recent short interest information and the institutional ownership. And then when all of that is done, we'll be doing a final recap for both of these stocks. I want to make sure you guys are prepared and you can find some trading opportunities. So I won't waste any more time. Let's get into those videos right now. So we're going to take a look at the chart for Lucid. Let's see how it performed on Friday. So it ended up closing at $19.68, being down 8.38%. On the low, it tested $19.54, and then on the high, testing $21.45. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 14.027 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 13.697 million shares. So we had above average volume on the day, and we had quite the pullback in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, here's what I want to bring to your attention. You could see we had a big time sell-off on the Friday. We pretty much erased all of the gains that Lucid made on the week. So where do we want to see Lucid holding support at? It did hold up at 1950, but at this particular point in time, if we end up having a further pullback, then you want to see Lucid holding at least above $19. If it is unable to do this, that's where we could see a further move to the downside. And the reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is look at this purple line, which is a 50 EMA. So we've had resistance at this particular area already. We see it back here on the 31st of May, and as well as for June the 1st. We also have noticed this back here on June the 23rd as well. It dipped and then it recovered. So if we get back below this 50 EMA, I don't see any reason why whatsoever that Lucid shouldn't go back to 19 and probably start testing in the high 18 area, and then we'd want to see if it would be able to make a bounce. So add that to your notes. If you want to see a turnaround in this play, of course Lucid needs to come back to $20. We know how much of a psychological area that is, and if it can come back to $20, hold support, look forward to that move up to get past 2061 and see if we can go back to retesting those highs right around 2180. But in my personal opinion, just by taking a look at the chart and this sell candle, it is looking bearish going into next week, but let's see what it could do. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for Lucid. So scrolling down on the page, green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So when we take a look at the recent filings for the 22nd, we have Spire Wealth Management that purchased 4,853 shares, and you know what? That's about it. Now, when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 57.57%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 3.16 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 550,000, updated 12 minutes ago, and then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 13.85%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we could see for the close of the 21st, it was at 54.70, and then for the close of the 22nd, being at 57.57. And then when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 23.99%, Lucid does continue to have short squeeze potential. So we're going to take a look at the chart for Chargepoint. Let's see how it performed on Friday. So it ended up closing at $13.85, being down 6.04%. On the low, it tested $13.74, and then on the high, testing $14.84. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 7.587 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 9.32 million shares. So not only did we have below average volume on the day, but we also seen a pullback in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, let's pay attention to some price levels here. I already marked them for us to save some time. So we know as far as for the gap that needs to be filled to the downside, it's around 1160 for Chargepoint. I also did bring to your attention that $15 area will serve as an area of resistance, but if we're able to gain momentum, that's where we want to see the move to 16. Since we did have this strong sell-off on the Friday, we're unable to get above 15, and then we ended up closing at 1385, testing a low at 1374. So what do you want to see going into next week? If Chargepoint decides to have a further pullback, we want to see support right at this 50 EMA, which is at 13 13.43. If it could hold above 13.43 and then make a move back up to 14, that would be a really good look. But if it ends up breaking through the 50-day EMA, that's where I could see Chargepoint trading into the $12 range fairly quickly. So please add that to your notes. And as far as for a move to the upside, like I said, it needs to reclaim 14 bucks, make that move to 15, and then testing this big resistance, or I can call this a psychological area right here at 16 bucks. We've seen this continuously on the 8th and as well as for the 9th, and you can see it most recently being on the 28th of June. So overall, let's see how Chargepoint performs going into next week, but despite the recent sell-off, it still has the potential to make a move up. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for Chargepoint. Scrolling down on the page, green rows indicate new positions, while red rows indicate closed positions. So when we take a look at the recent filings we have here for the 22nd, we have JMBA Financial Advisors that purchased 1,000 shares, and that's about it. And now when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 50.79%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 1.66 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 55,000, updated 13 minutes ago, and then for the short borrow-free rate, it is at 4.90%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 21st, it was at 51.28, and then for the close of the 22nd, being at 50.79. And then when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 17.48%, Chargepoint does continue to have short squeeze potential.
So to give you guys my final thoughts for Lucid and as well as for Chargepoint, let's start off with Lucid. So that sell-off that we had on the Friday pretty much wiped out our gains for the entire week. I know this must be frustrating for a lot of investors out there, but I know there were traders that were able to take advantage of the opportunity. But for this coming week, what do we want to see? We want to see a reversal. But the only way this is going to happen is if we have buying pressure coming into the market. So the key level that we want to see Lucid get back to is trading in that mid $20 range and going back to $21. Like I said, the short-term price target at the bare minimum is around $22.50. And if we didn't have that sell-off on the Friday, I'm pretty sure we would have gotten there, but there's still a lot of time. As far as Chargepoint is concerned, it is very crucial that it needs to hold support at $13. There also is a gap that needs to be filled around $11.60. So if we see more weakness inside of these markets, what do you think is going to happen? Chargepoint will fill in the gap for the coming week. If we see some buying pressure to the upside, then we want to see if Chargepoint can get past 15 bucks. And then we know the next resistance level, which is a fairly consistent level and is known that Chargepoint sells off of, is around $16. So please add this to your notes. But again, we need to have buying pressure coming into the market. I highly suggest that you add IWM to your watch list to see how the small and mid caps are doing. And then we also have to take into consideration the volatile week that is coming. Not only do we have a Fed meeting, we also have GDP numbers that are going to be coming out, and we also have big tech earnings from Facebook and as well as from Microsoft. Hey, I should be saying Meta, my bad about that. We're also going to be getting earnings from Apple and as well as for Amazon. So if these companies are able to put out some solid earnings, I'm looking for the market to gain some momentum, and upon gaining that momentum, I think Chargepoint should be able to benefit from this. But we also have to make sure we keep our ears to the street in regards to the Fed meeting. Are they going to go with 100 basis points, or are they going to be going with 75 basis points? Depending on which option they choose, I'm looking for them to choose 75 basis points. Then I feel that the market shouldn't be selling off aggressively. But we also have to think about the GDP numbers. So again, we just have to be patient and see what the market gives us. But at least you guys know those levels to the upside and as well as for the downside and those levels to look out for. I went over extensively in the chart section of the video, so make sure you check that out, add it to your homework. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see how these stocks perform going into the coming week. We'll talk soon.